Welcome back to Travel Partner Official. Today, we're exposing 5 shocking food ingredients that are legal in the USA but banned in countries like Europe, Canada, and China. Have you ever wondered if your everyday food is actually safe? Some common American ingredients are outlawed elsewhere due to health concerns. We're talking about what's in your bread, soda, snacks, and even milk. This isn't a conspiracy. These bans are based on real science and government action. If you want more eye-opening content, hit that subscribe button now. Ready? Let's dive into the first banned ingredient hiding in your bread. Let's start with something you probably eat almost every day: bread. But there's a hidden ingredient inside many loaves that most people have never even heard of: potassium bromate. This food additive is commonly used by commercial bakeries to make bread dough stronger, more elastic, and to give the final product that soft, fluffy texture we all love. It helps bread rise higher and look more appealing on store shelves. You'll find potassium bromate in a surprising range of products: white bread, burger buns, pizza dough, and even some all-purpose flours sold across the United States. It's a staple in many commercial bakeries and fast food chains, making its way into millions of meals every day. The truth is, most people have no idea they're eating it. It's not something you can taste or smell, and unless you're reading the fine print on the ingredients label, you'd never know it was there. For many, bread is just bread, an everyday comfort food. But here's the catch: potassium bromate is actually banned in dozens of countries, including the entire European Union, Canada, Brazil, China, and India. These countries have decided the risks outweigh the benefits and have taken steps to protect their citizens from exposure. Why such a strong reaction? Because the World Health Organization has classified potassium bromate as a possible human carcinogen. That means there's evidence it could cause cancer in people, especially with repeated exposure over time. Animal studies have shown that potassium bromate can cause tumors in the kidneys and thyroid glands. These findings have raised serious concerns among scientists and health advocates who argue that no level of exposure is truly safe. Despite all this, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration still allows the use of potassium bromate in food. Their position is that if it's used properly and the bread is baked long enough, the chemical should break down and not pose a risk. But that's a big if, and it relies on every bakery following the rules perfectly, every single time. Critics argue that it's nearly impossible to guarantee every loaf is baked just right. Even small mistakes in the baking process can leave behind trace amounts of potassium bromate, which could build up in your body over time. For people who eat bread daily, that's a real concern. The frustrating part? There are safer alternatives available, like ascorbic acid, better known as vitamin C, which can strengthen dough without the health risks. Yet many companies continue to use potassium bromate because it's cheap, effective, and easy to work with. In California, the risks are taken seriously enough that any product containing potassium bromate must carry a cancer warning label. This has pushed some brands to reformulate their recipes and remove the additive entirely, but not all have followed suit. In most other states, though, you'll find no warning at all. Potassium bromate remains legal and widely used, and most consumers are left in the dark about what's really in their bread. This is a classic example of industry convenience being put ahead of consumer safety. The food industry often chooses what's easiest and cheapest, even when safer options are available. So, what can you do to protect yourself and your family? Start by checking the ingredients list on your bread or flour. Look out for potassium bromate or bromated flour. If you see those words, it's best to put the product back on the shelf. Instead, choose brands that clearly avoid this additive. Organic breads and those from health-focused bakeries are much less likely to contain potassium bromate, and many proudly advertise that they use only safe, natural ingredients. Making a small change in your bread buying habits can have a big impact on your long-term health. It's a simple step that helps you avoid unnecessary risks and supports companies that put safety first. And potassium bromate isn't the only surprising chemical lurking in your food. Next, let's talk about an ingredient that's found in both your favorite snacks and your yoga mat. Number 2 on our list is azodicarbonamide, or ADA, a chemical that might sound unfamiliar, but it's surprisingly common in the foods we eat every day. ADA is primarily used to bleach flour, giving it that bright, uniform look, and to condition dough, making bread softer and fluffier. It's a favorite among commercial bakeries and food manufacturers because it helps speed up production and ensures consistency in texture and appearance. You'll find ADA in a wide range of products on U.S. grocery shelves. Everything from packaged sandwich bread and hamburger buns at your favorite fast food chains, to pastries, bagels, and even some frozen dinners. It's a go-to additive for many processed foods, especially those that need to stay soft and fresh for longer periods. But here's the part that really grabs attention. ADA isn't just used in food. It's also a key ingredient in the production of yoga mats, foam shoe soles, and other flexible plastics. That's why it's often called the yoga mat chemical. The same compound that helps your bread stay soft is also what gives yoga mats their spongy, springy feel. When this information became public, it sparked a wave of outrage. Consumers were shocked to learn that a chemical used in plastics was also in their food, leading to protests, viral news stories, and mounting pressure on major fast food chains. Many companies responded quickly, announcing they would remove ADA from their recipes to regain customer trust. Despite the backlash, ADA is still legal in the United States, as long as it's used within limits set by the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA maintains that ADA is safe to consume in small amounts, and it continues to appear on ingredient lists for many processed foods. However, not all countries agree. The European Union and Australia have taken a much stricter stance, banning ADA from all food products due to concerns about its potential health effects. Their approach is more cautious, prioritizing consumer safety even when the risks aren't fully proven. The main concern is that when ADA is heated during baking, it breaks down into a substance called semicarbazide. Animal studies have linked semicarbazide to the development of tumors, raising red flags for scientists and health advocates. While the evidence in humans isn't conclusive, the potential risk has led some countries to err on the side of caution. The World Health Organization has also weighed in, noting that exposure to ADA can cause respiratory issues and trigger allergies, especially in people who are sensitive to airborne chemicals. This is particularly concerning for workers in bakeries and food factories, but it's something consumers should be aware of too. In Europe, the precautionary principle guides food safety decisions. This means that if there's any credible risk to public health, even if the science isn't settled, regulators will restrict or ban the substance to protect consumers. In contrast, U.S. regulators often take a more permissive approach, arguing that small amounts of ADA are unlikely to cause harm. They tend to wait for stronger evidence before making changes to food safety rules. What's telling is how quickly companies were able to remove ADA from their products once the public demanded it. This suggests that ADA was never truly essential to making bread or buns. It was just a cheap and convenient shortcut for manufacturers. Today, you're less likely to find ADA in fast food, but it still pops up in many processed baked goods and packaged breads. That's why it's so important to read ingredient labels carefully, especially if you want to avoid unnecessary additives. If you spot azodicarbonamide on the label, you know what it means. Put it back and choose a cleaner, more natural option for you and your family. Now, let's move to the dairy aisle and talk about RBGH, recombinant bovine growth hormone. This is a synthetic hormone developed in the 1980s, designed to increase the amount of milk that dairy cows produce. For many years, it was seen as a breakthrough for the dairy industry, promising higher yields and bigger profits for farmers. But what exactly is RBGH, and why has it become such a hot topic in the world of food safety? This synthetic hormone is injected directly into dairy cows, usually every 2 weeks, to artificially boost their milk production. The idea is simple. More milk from each cow means more money for large-scale dairy operations. But this practice has sparked a heated debate among scientists, farmers, and consumers alike. Approved by the FDA in 1993, RBGH was introduced to the U.S. market without any requirement for special labeling. That meant most people had no idea whether the milk they were buying came from cows treated with this hormone. For years, the lack of transparency left consumers in the dark, unable to make informed choices about the milk they drank every day. But not every country agreed with the U.S. approach. RBGH is banned in Canada, the European Union, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. These countries cited animal welfare concerns and potential health risks as reasons for their bans, taking a much more cautious stance than the U.S. did. Why? Studies have shown that cows injected with RBGH are more likely to suffer from painful udder infections, known as mastitis, as well as other health problems like lameness and reproductive issues. Treating these illnesses often requires antibiotics, which can end up in the milk supply and contribute to antibiotic resistance, a growing public health concern. There are also concerns about human health. Milk from RBGH-treated cows contains higher levels of a hormone called IGF-1, or insulin-like growth factor 1. Some studies have linked elevated IGF-1 levels to an increased risk of certain cancers, including breast and prostate cancer. While the science is still debated, many experts believe it's better to be cautious. The FDA continues to insist that RBGH is safe for both cows and humans, pointing to studies that show no significant risk. However, many scientists, consumer advocates, and animal welfare groups remain unconvinced. They argue that the long-term effects haven't been studied enough, and that animal suffering is reason enough to avoid the hormone. In response to growing consumer concern, major brands like Walmart, Kroger, and Starbucks have pledged to sell only RBGH-free milk. This shift didn't happen overnight. It was the result of years of public pressure, petitions, and a demand for greater transparency in the food system. Today, most milk sold in the U.S. is RBGH-free, not because of a government ban, but because shoppers like you demanded it. Families across the country are now more aware of what's in their food, and companies have responded by offering safer, more transparent options. Still, it's important to know that some cheaper milk brands and many processed foods may still use milk from cows treated with RBGH. If you're buying cheese, yogurt, or packaged snacks, check the labels or contact the manufacturer to be sure. So, next time you're in the dairy aisle, look for RBGH-free labels to make sure you're avoiding this controversial hormone. Your choices matter, not just for your health, but for the well-being of cows and the future of our food system. Number 4 is brominated vegetable oil, or BVO, a chemical once common in citrus sodas and sports drinks. Its job? To keep flavor oils from separating, making drinks look uniform. The problem? BVO contains bromine, a chemical also used as a flame retardant. BVO is banned in over 100 countries, including the EU and Japan, due to health risks. Bromine can build up in the body, causing memory loss, nerve issues, and skin problems in extreme cases. The FDA allowed BVO for decades, even as companies used safer alternatives in other countries. Public outcry, sparked by a viral petition, finally pushed major brands to remove BVO from most U.S. drinks. In 2023, California passed a law banning BVO, and the FDA proposed a nationwide ban. The process is slow, but the industry is moving away from BVO thanks to consumer pressure. Always check your drink labels, especially for older or off-brand sodas, and avoid BVO. Finally, let's talk about synthetic food dyes, specifically Yellow 5 and Yellow 6. These petroleum-based dyes are everywhere: candy, cereals, snacks, drinks, and even medications. In the US, they're used to make foods look bright and appealing. In Europe, foods with these dyes must carry a warning. May have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. This came after a major UK study linked these dyes to hyperactivity in kids. Most European brands switched to natural colorings to avoid the warning label. In the US, the FDA says there's not enough evidence to require a warning, so the dyes remain common. Consumer groups argue that if safer alternatives exist, why take the risk? If you want to avoid these dyes, check labels and look for products colored with natural ingredients like beetroot or paprika. That's 5 ingredients banned elsewhere but still found in American foods. The lesson isn't to panic, but to be informed. Consumer awareness drives change. Just look at RBGH and BVO. By choosing brands with cleaner ingredients, you send a message to the industry. Always read ingredient lists and look for shorter, simpler ones. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to Travel Partner Official for more. Thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next time.